What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and guess who's back with TV show reviews? Because I've been back, doing other reviews. Okay, I'm back. All right, and finally got a chance to watch a few episodes. Actually, I've only watched one so far, but I'm gonna get a few more in, just because I finally have a little bit of time. I've had today off. Well, not all off, but I've had enough time to sit down, watch. So here I am with NCIS Season 15, Episode 20, Sight Unseen. Now, with that being said, it is going to be a little bit weird coming back to these shows that I haven't watched in months and reviewing episodes that tie into episodes previously that I haven't seen in forever. So with that being said, though, obviously returning to NCIS is going to be one where it's going to be a little bit easier to return to it because most of those stories don't really tie in together. And sure enough, that's kind of how this one feels. It's always been episodal. Episodal? How do you say that? I'm going to go with episodal. It's always been an episodal type of show, so basically every episode is just a different case, it's just a different story. That's pretty much what it felt like. The case itself had an interesting premise because this cop is driving down the road after a car with a prisoner in his back seat, and they drive straight into a lake, and then comes out, and then the body is missing. Here's the thing. It seems like an interesting premise, but based on how they shot it, based on what we saw, I kind of got the gist of exactly what was going on right from the beginning. Basically he drives through a campsite and into a lake, chasing a car when there's no car nearby. So, yeah, it's just kind of this weird thing where it's like, okay, so clearly there was no car, so he was trying to kill somebody, obviously. And so sure enough, that's what was going on, but then what made it slightly more interesting was the fact that the body disappeared. And so I was like, okay, so maybe there's something else going on. Maybe he helped the guy out of the back seat and then drove in, making it look like, it was just a freak accident, and oh no, where's the guy? And it's just kind of maybe setting up a mystery type thing. But no, none of that happened. It was all just, he tried to kill him, somehow the guy got free out of the back seat, managed to swim away. And that's pretty much all you need to know. It's a basic story of a petty officer who got roped into something. He was selling red phosphorus to people. The guy who was in charge of it is this pharmacist who the petty officer was dating his daughter. But he was in charge of it, and he knew the petty officer was about to turn on them. So he had the sheriff try to kill him. Didn't work out. That's pretty much it. And I don't know, it's pretty obvious. And even like the whole who's the mastermind that shot the sheriff? Well, it's either going to be the CO, which didn't seem likely because, I don't know, it felt weird that the CO would rat on his own operation because that's kind of what it felt like he was doing. So I was just like, well, probably the pharmacist then, since we saw him for like a couple minutes, and the lawyer seemed to pop up randomly out of nowhere, so he's probably going to have a bigger deal, which means he's probably going to be in on it as well. And sure enough, whenever she's in the lineup, the blind girl, she's listening to all the voices in the lineup, trying to hear whose voice was on the boat. The pharmacist reads the line, and she's like, no, it's not him. I'm thinking, all right, well, let's have the lawyer say something then, because that means it's probably him. And honestly, he's not saying anything right now, and he's been talking this entire episode. So clearly he's the third one, right? Nobody figures it out. And so Torres takes her home, and then all of a sudden the lawyer shows up at her door, tries to kill her, and Torres shows up just in the nick of time to save her. So, I don't know, it seemed way too obvious. It seemed like a very easy one to figure out for the team even. Not even from like our point of view from the outside of the show, seeing things that the team isn't seeing. No, I'm seeing everything the team is seeing, and I figured it out like that, It just seemed weird that it took so long for them to figure things out. Even the phone in this episode was another one was like, really? It took you that long to figure out, hey, I know, let's try to make a wax model of his fingerprint and then use that because we can't figure out the password. And also, do they not have hacking things that they can hack into the phone? Like, I'm sorry, when did they not become like technological geniuses? Because last time I checked, Abby and McGee still are technological geniuses, and they should be able to just, locked phone, no problem. Let me just put this random digit thing to figure out what exactly. Nothing. Just, let's try all these different passwords. Oh no, we only have one password left. What can we possibly do? Abby comes up with something last minute to figure it out. I don't know, that just seemed kind of dumb. Outside of that, there are also a couple things that just a little frustrating for me. First of all, apparently they're trying to build up. They've always had a little bit of like a flirty thing with Bishop and Torres, and kind of sometimes I've already forgotten the British guy. I've already forgotten his name. It's been that long. Reeves. Almost forgot, but didn't. But they've always had kind of a little bit of a flirty thing. She kind of sees Reeves as an older brother, but there are times when it seems a little bit more. She and Torres have always had that kind of back and forth that we see, boys and girls when they're little, making fun of each other because they like each other type of thing. So it's kind of been hinted at, but never really focused on because, well, frankly, Bishop and Torres just aren't really a good couple. They're great for a little bit of banter, and the jokes that they have at each other's expense is really funny sometimes. But as far as a couple is concerned, it doesn't have that same chemistry that we saw out of Tony and Ziva. Where they had jokes at each other's expense, but it felt like there was some deeper connection there, like they understood each other on a deeper level. I never really felt that with Bishop and Torres. And so whenever she goes on this date with a guy that Torres is apparently friends with, it seems like maybe there's something there, like, oh, he might be jealous. He's, of course, saying, oh, no, he's the guy, my friend. He didn't say anything to me, but he goes on a date with you. Like, why didn't he say anything to me? And then, of course, this blind woman, Annie, throughout most of the episode, he's with her, and he's kind of growing this deep connection with her. And, of course, it's one of those, oh, he thinks blind people are helpless, and then she shows him that he's not, that she's not. And so at the end of the episode, of course, he goes into the diner with her, and then McGee is there with Bishop, and McGee's like, no, Bishop, I wanted to talk to you something alone, because he sees Torres is trying to have some alone time with her. And then I'm thinking, okay, so that's the joke at the end. Torres is going on a date, McGee helps him out. I thought it was kind of funny. And then Bishop kind of looks, and Torres is doing like this really cheesy laugh, like, and she goes, I'm just like, wait, are we saying she's actually disappointed that he's on a date with another woman? Like, are we really going there now? Because no. No, I just don't see that. And maybe, I don't know, maybe once we get further down this season, maybe something will happen. Maybe something will happen that convinces me, oh, you know what, I can see it now. But right now, I just don't see it. And it feels like it's just adding on kind of a romantic relationship out of nowhere that they're going to try to put on us by the end of the season. For the last, I think I have 4 episodes left until I'm caught up to the new season. I don't really feel like it's a good choice. I don't feel like it's a good choice for these characters because they don't really fit together romantically. So with that being said, we'll see what happens. But overall, the story with the blind woman, it's very standard. It's very cliche. I've seen it done in so many shows. Oh, blind people can't do anything. And then they can. It's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. The random romance out of nowhere because Torres sees her as something more. And it's like, oh my gosh, I didn't see it at first. And now I see it in her. And seen that done a million times before. And that's about it. It's very standard NCIS episodes. So, yeah. Moving on to the next one. See you guys there. Now episode 21, One Step Forward. So this one was kind of a mixed bag. There were elements that I did really enjoy. The parts with Reeves and kind of seeing a different side to him and all of that. I don't know, I really enjoyed getting to see that side of him. Because we've seen him taking donations in some of the other episodes this season. We knew he was trying to help out homeless people. And so we got to kind of see, they may have talked about this before in a previous episode that I just completely forgot. It's entirely possible. But I want to say this is the first time we've actually heard his backstory, heard about his mother, what happened to her and how he was brought up. And so getting to see him help all these kids, and these homeless vets that are homeless, homeless vets that are homeless. I'm a little tired. I'm mixing up my words. Anyways, but we get to see a little bit more of that, which I thought was really good. The case itself, pretty standard. Somebody has a past case that they want solved to get justice for someone. There's a chance that the person they're trying to get justice for is not the good person that they think they are, and then they're denying it. The team is like, it's a possibility. And then by the end of it, we find out, oh no, they were a good person the whole time, and you had no reason to doubt her. How dare you? Yeah, and for some reason there's a random reporter lady thrown in that's trying to like muck up the name for NCIS. Don't know what her point was in this episode. Didn't really lead to anything, just a kind of random throwaway joke of like, oh, Gibbs attacks, haha, because he's pushing the camera down. I don't know. It was random. The case itself, as far as the mystery was concerned, not really that interesting. The mother of this woman who comes in trying to find out who killed her, trying to have her murder solved. This girl's homeless. She's got a kid with her, so she wants NCIS to investigate because she was a vet, or her mother was a vet. And so they look into the case, find out she's looking into this drug thing. They go to a warehouse where they talk to this one guy. And then find out later that he ends up being the bad guy because she was looking into his warehouse where all the drugs were coming through, and it all happened because apparently she went to the insurance company trying to find out where her daughter's drugs went, and then the insurance company sent her like a bunch of shipping stuff of all these missing drugs, and then because she was so smart, she's like, oh, I know what's going on here, and figured it all out, and then got killed for it. So yeah, it was just, I don't know. It wasn't really that interesting of a story. Like I said, the story of somebody comes because they want justice for someone, and then all of that. I've seen that story before. I've seen it done 100 times, if not 1,000. So that part of it wasn't very interesting. There was a random part in the middle. This one just kind of stuck out to me because of how random it was, where Torres and Reeves go to question this guy, and he takes off, and so now they're chasing him, and they're trying to outrun each other, but they're not running him down, and then it all ends whenever the guy runs out into the middle of the street and gets smashed by a car, and then Torres pulls Reeves back before he can get hit. And it just all seemed kind of random. It's like, oh, this random foot chase where they're both chasing him, and, Torres is like, oh, just stay behind, Reeves, I got this, and he's like, Reeves is like, no, you're not fast enough, mate, and then they're just, I don't know, it was a random bit of hilarity that led to a death, which then led to more jokes after the death. Even Torres is sitting there like, even though we were chasing him, just something about seeing somebody die like that, just it affects me. And then they, sure enough, find a way to throw in, the only reason I lost is because I pulled my Hemi. So you're not really that upset by it, clearly, if you can make jokes about it. Anyways, so that was kind of random and out of nowhere. And so sure enough, at the end of this episode, they find a way to random and out of nowhere throw in something else. So we see Reeves does eventually get to Sarah, the girl who was trying to have her mother's case solved. He does eventually get to her and sort of convinces her to go with him to be a part of this whole like homeless vet thing. And so because of that, Abby, I guess, rewards him by taking him to this igloo place that everybody's been trying to go to. She got 2 free tickets. She can only take one person. So she takes him. And then they're walking in the dark late, and I'm just like, I've seen enough crime shows and like mystery shows to know that you're not just randomly showing us this random part where they're leaving the restaurant and they're walking down the street in the dark where there's hardly anybody on the street. What's going to happen? Tell me what's going to happen. Some random guy comes out of nowhere, give me your purse. Give me your wallet too. I want all the money. Yeah. Random. And then Abby's like, look, I'm sure we can find a way to help you, like backing away. Instead of just smartly give him the stuff, let him go. You have a brilliant mind. You can probably track him down later. No, she's got to talk to him. Look, we can find a way to help you, which then sets him off. You think you can help me? You think you can help me? Yes, of course I can help you. Because obviously it's pissing you off to hear that I can help you, so let me just say it again to further aggravate you so we can end this episode on a cliffhanger. Because then he's like, I don't need your help. Points the gun, Reeves pushes her out of the way, stop! And then bang, and it cuts to black. So, one of two things happened. I do know that Abby, she's not on the show anymore because I saw some random article after the season ended saying that Polly Perrette is no longer on the show. So there's a chance she might have been shot. Maybe she's dead. There's a chance Reeves might have been shot because, we just got all this good backstory on him. So, of course, let's kill him off now that we know more about him. Makes sense. But yeah, it's just kind of random way to interject some intensity into this episode that really had nothing intense in it. So yeah, there's 3 more episodes in this season. I'm probably going to do the next one because it'll probably directly tie it to this one. And then there will be 2 more left that I'll probably finish up and watch those and do another review solely on those 2. And that's how this is going to go. So anyway, I'll see you guys in the next episode in just a second. And now the last of these 3 episodes I'm going to watch in this little review segment. Episode 22, 2 Steps Back. So this is the conclusion to what happened at the end of last episode, which I'm finding NCIS has started to do a lot more of these past few seasons, because it feels like this will just happen. You know, I don't know why they started doing this more, but I feel like I've seen it in NCIS more than any show, where one episode will have the story done, and then we'll end with something that then carries over to the next episode. I feel like I've only seen NCIS do it. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe other shows do it that I just don't watch, but I don't know. It just seems to be a thing. Anyways, but yeah, first let's talk about how this episode started. So first of all, I do want to give credit to the fact that it wasn't just some random thing. It wasn't just something that was sort of thrown in, like this one guy wants her dead, and so he sent a hitman after her. There was some build up to it, and I do appreciate that fact. However, there are problems that I do have with this. First of all, the way the episode starts, in my opinion, is the biggest slap in the face to Clayton Reeves' character. Because, first of all, we spent most of last episode, and I realize it now, thinking back, I realize all the death flags coming. You know, oh, look, the kid's coming into his own, isn't he? He's taking more control, he's talking more about himself. And so, of course, in the situation where a guy pulls a gun, of course he's going to be the one to go, because it feels like, oh, he's finally taking steps in the right direction. However, the way they frame it at the beginning of this episode is such a huge slap in the face to him, because we see Abby being rushed into the hospital, we see her coding, and then we cut to the examination room, and everybody's standing with the lights dark, and there's a body bag there. And all I can think is, Reeves is in that bag, isn't he? And you're trying to build it up like, oh my gosh, guys, Abby died, so that whenever they open it up and show that it's Reeves, it's like, oh, okay, so Abby's still alive. Do you understand the frustration with that? Like, because they've done that before. They've done it before where 2 people will shoot at each other or something along those lines, and it shows people upset, and it's just like, I can't believe this happened. And then they open up the body bag, and it turns out to not be the teammate. It turns out to be the bad guy in the situation, or it turns out to be the random person that was hired to kill them. Or it's just some random person. It's just like, okay, we gotta find out who dared to try to kill our friend while the friend is in the hospital still alive but holding on. In this situation, you've got 2 teammates. You show one going into the hospital and then try to make us think that maybe that's the one that died, only to reveal that it's the other teammate. Which most of the time is supposed to make us feel relief, because it's like, oh, okay, so they're okay. But in this situation, it's like you're making us feel relief and shock at the same time. Which, in all honesty, if you've watched the show enough, if you watch TV enough, this isn't a shock at all. It's pretty much just a cliche thing that every show does at some point. So I'm just kind of like, really, this is how you're going to send out Reeves' character? I mean, they do give him a good homage. They do give him some, good moments. The team talks about him in a good light. So he does have his moments in this episode. But the way they started it just really irked me the wrong way. I'm just like, really? That's how you're going to send him off? That's how you're going to do his character? Just, oh my gosh, guys, Abby, she might be dead. This could be Abby. Oh, it's just Reeves. Okay, it's not Abby. It's just Reeves. It just, I don't know. Maybe that's not what everybody else felt. Maybe everybody else was like, oh my gosh, Abby could be dead. Oh my gosh, no, it's Clayton. I doubt it, though. I'm betting most people, their reaction was, oh, thank goodness it's not Abby. And unless they saw it coming like I did. Then they're just like, okay, open it up, show us it's Reeves, come on. But, with that being said, the rest of the episode was okay. It did sort of feel a little bit like this is Abby's last episode on the show. I already said talking about the last episode, I saw that Polly Perrette was off the show. This was her last season, so I knew she was leaving. And about halfway into the episode, I realized, okay, this is her last episode. This is her last moment to shine before she quits. And that's exactly what happened. So they bring back this one guy that she stopped at one point honestly, I do not remember this guy at all. I mean, there have been 15 seasons worth of this show. You're trying to go back to some random criminal that was stopped. The effect of this is not going to... You can show clips all you want. I'm still not going to remember him out of the hundreds of bad guys that they took down, you know? Like, only a few have stood out to me. He's definitely not one of them. But anyway, this guy apparently breaks out of prison. He's got a bunch of black market or black op connections. So he's the one that hired the hitman. He's the one that sent her the tickets, which I immediately found out at the beginning of the episode because I was just like, oh, somebody hired this guy to kill her. That means they probably sent her the tickets to get her there to lead her into this shooting thing. And it takes them like 30 minutes for them to be like, oh, wait a minute, the tickets that she got from... Oh, what if that's part of the setup too? Hello? Obviously it was. I mean, why else would this hitman know exactly where she was? Sometimes they just don't think. And I'm sitting here on the outside going, you guys are idiots. But yeah, so that actually did play into it a bit, which I'm glad. That it wasn't just some random coincidence that, oh, the hitman just happened to track her down. No, there was some build up to it. There was some planning involved. So ultimately, you know, after they go talk to two past criminals that they've taken down before, they go talk to this one guy that Abby took down using some of her hacking abilities and stuff. And so they realize it's him. They realize he broke out of prison using one of the guards that sort of looks like him. And so that's what's going on. He broke out. He tried to kill her because he's trying to tie up loose ends before he moves on to his next job. So then Abby tricks Torres into a coffin and then tracks him down and pretends like she's about to kill him because we all know Abby would not actually slip cyanide in his coffee. I mean, as soon as she said that, I'm thinking, okay, what did she actually put in there that's making him feel like this? It's not actually going to kill him. But he thinks it's killing him, so then he gives her the information that she needs to take him down. He gets arrested, and then she gives her final farewell speech to everyone. So with all that being said, there are a few moments in this that sort of stick out to me. One is the moment where McGee is talking to Tony. I don't understand, mainly because Michael Weatherly is still... I mean, he's not doing a ton of work. I mean, I know he's working on Bull, probably. But I feel like you could get him to record a phone conversation. Because the phone... That's the thing. When he was talking on the phone with McGee, I'm thinking to myself, why can you not at least just get him saying a few lines? You don't have to pay him a whole lot. Just he's probably making enough money working on Bull. Just slip a few $100s his way. Be like, look, we just need you to record this phone conversation because we need to use it because it's going to be good. And it would have been hysterical if we'd heard both sides of it. But all we hear is McGee's side, where he's just like, I don't understand why I have to say it too. He's like, all right, I love you too. That would have been so much funnier if we could hear Tony saying his part as well. But when it's a one-sided conversation, we get a sense of what it is because we know the relationship between McGee and Tony is funny and the friendship they have is hysterical. But only hearing one side of it makes it less funny. You know, I chuckle a little bit, but I'm like, that could have been so much funnier. All you have to do is just record him saying a few lines. Come on. There was also the scene at the end with Abby and the rest of the team. And honestly, I'll add in the scene with McGee earlier when he's talking to her and is like, look, you need to wake up. This really did get to me a little bit, and I'll give credit where credit's due. They've done a really good job with these characters, and especially with a character like Abby, it really does... It should be a lot to make us feel something now that she's leaving. And especially whenever I knew she was leaving the show, for me to feel something already being spoiled on that, yeah, it's going to take a lot. Credit where credit's due, they really did a good job with the emotional points of this part, mainly with McGee. And, I mean, I gotta say, he really got to show... He's shown before he's a good actor, but in this one, you really got to feel for him. And I think a lot of it is down to the fact that his voice, he does a very good job with his voice cracking, and you really feel like he puts a lot of emotion into his voice. So I feel like that's a lot of it. But I don't know, it just really hit home. You know, this is her last episode, this is her last moment, saying goodbye to everyone on the team. It really did, it hurt a little bit, knowing that she's not going to be a part of it. Jimmy's reaction was perfect, you know, that kind of shocked, stunned, like, oh my gosh, she's not going to be here anymore. Pretty much exactly how all of us would be feeling. You've got the rest of them, you know, Torres and Bishop and Ducky, all of them are just, they're sad, but they're proud of what she's doing, helping Reeves' dream come true. So I thought they handled that very well. But with that being said, it gets undercut a little bit by the last scene between her and Gibbs. Because I don't know why TV shows want to do this so much. But I feel like this has become another cliche. And I know I've been using that word a lot, but it feels like they've been pulling out a lot of cliches these past few episodes. But this one for me just irks me a little bit. Because if there's anybody that I want to have an emotional farewell, it would be Abby and Gibbs. Because if anyone has had a father-daughter relationship on this show, Gibbs has been a father to a lot of people on the team, obviously. But with Abby, there was a really special connection. It really was like they have been family forever. He got to see her grow up and become this woman who is very good at her job, who does this for a living, who catches criminals for a living and does it well. And she's become stronger, she's become more confident, she's become less scared of what the world holds. And he's been there for every step of that journey. So why do you have to end it on this bullcrap ending where he gets a letter from her and we get to hear her reading it? Like, that is I don't know. They do that a lot in TV shows. Whenever somebody's leaving, they always do that. Oh, let me leave them a letter, and then you get to hear them talking while we show clips of them in the past. I feel like I've seen that several times on other shows. This is not the duo to do that for. This is the one where you let them have an emotional moment where they're both silent for a bit. You let the emotions play out. You let them both just sort of sit there and realize this might be the last time we see each other for a while after seeing each other almost daily for so long. You just let that emotion play out. You just let that silent moment play out, but with them together. Not this bullcrap, oh, I'm going to read a letter that she wrote for me, and I'm going to read it while they show clips, and then at the end I'm going to look out the window, and there she is, and we're going to do some sign language, and that's going to be it. It just doesn't have the same emotional impact. It doesn't have that same really emotional feel that I should feel between this. Because that is really what this show has going for it still. After all of these seasons, the mysteries aren't as interesting. The characters at times can be a little too cheesy. The jokes can be a little too cheesy. The connections between the characters is really what has made me stick around for 15 seasons. Because generally the camaraderie, the jokes between them, the heart, the emotions that they share, all of that has been the best part of this show. And it's what has made it last for so long. And so to see a character that's been here since the beginning, that has had a father figure like Gibbs since the beginning of the show as well, leave, and this is all we get for their farewell, it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel good enough. It feels lazy. It feels like you just wanted to try to make it more emotional by showing us previous scenes, and you didn't think you could do that if they were sitting together. The only way to do that is to have him read a letter, so that's how we're going to do it. But I'm sorry, the Abby that I've gotten to know and the Abby that I've seen since the beginning of this show, just like Gibbs, is strong enough to where she could go up to Gibbs and say goodbye, because she couldn't just leave it at leaving a letter and then some sign language. They may do some sign language at the very end, but the Abigail I know would be there in front of Gibbs and want to say goodbye to him directly, because that's the person she is. She's not the type to leave a letter. I'm sorry, that's not her. And that's where it really frustrated me. That's where it really felt like you betrayed. First of all, you betrayed Reeves with the death you gave him. The shocking, oh gosh, it could be Abby. Oh no, it's Reeves. Okay, we're good. And then you betray Abby by making her go completely against her character at the end of this episode. I just don't see her wimping out like that. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm the only one that feels that way. Maybe everybody else is like, no, this is exactly how it had to be. She left him a letter because it was too hard. That's just making her look weak. And she's not. So, I don't know. I just got really frustrated by some of the elements in this. But they have 2 episodes to make it up to me by the end of it, so we'll see what happens next. But anyway, those are my thoughts over these 3 episodes. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe. Featured NCIS reviews. I'll see you guys in the next 2. Peace out.